In search of a financial opportunity to pay off student loans, a young Black American woman moves to South Korea to work. As the author, Bootsy W. recalls culture shock and fun adventures in a country far from home, she's also faced with anti-Black racism and featureism, quickly learning that white supremacy is practiced not only by whites, but by those that are categorized as people of color. Based on her 10 years of living abroad, the book, Ago Igo, compares and contrasts Korea versus the United States on subjects such as code, communal living, racism, effective protests, global alliances, warrior class, music, political correctness, health, aging, money, and the coronavirus. This blunt memoir is uncomfortable, humorous, and educational. Help fight propaganda and mainstream agendas by picking up a copy of Ago Igo on Amazon.com.
Now, we know we've been viewing, a lot of the media and how any incident that we're seeing coming out of New York and San Francisco, that area in particular, has been used to say that there's a conspiracy of Black Americans in particular. This is what they're trying to put out here, that's attacking Asian people. Now, we know that is farthest from the truth, as I stated before. If we had any kind of beef with Asian people, then they couldn't last in our neighborhoods very long, because a lot of them have their businesses in Black neighborhoods. And they've been having their businesses in Black neighborhoods ever since really the 50s, when they tried to start putting their businesses in white neighborhoods, and they said, hell no, you ain't putting your business over here. You better go somewhere else with that. And they came to the Black areas, and they're still there to this day. Even though the media is trying to put out this particular propaganda that Black Americans and Asian people just got this internal beef, and we just fighting it out. Now, have incidents have been happening to us from different members of their community? Sure. In these beauty supply stores and these nail shops? Sure. But at the same time, I'm not going to go and just even make an issue of that anymore, because I'm at this point, if one of our sisters decides to go in these places, even though you're being treated a certain way, then what happens to you is on you at this point. I'm not going to even be tripping about it no more like I used to, because one thing, you don't waste your time on hard-headed people. You just don't do that. Now, there was this particular study that was talked about here by two authors. One author name is Jennifer Lee. She is the Julian Clarence Levy Professor of Social Sciences at Columbia University. And also Tiffany Huang, if I'm saying it right. She's a PhD candidate at the Department of Sociology at Columbia University. So they joined together to put up a particular piece called "Why the Trope of Black and Asian Conflict in the Face of Anti-Asian Violence Dismisses Solidarity." Now, they was talking about the recent incidents and all of that. Of course, we've seen all that. We don't need to go over that. Now, they said since March, there was 3,000 self-reported incidents of anti-Asian violence in 47 states. And we definitely going to get into what the violence is, even what they admit to what the majority of it is. And that's gonna blow even more holes in the white supremacist propaganda that's out there. So they're saying here that the violence that's garnered, they said, the national attention, which they're saying they in their community feel they deserve that. They say it also invoked anti-Black sentiment and reignited, they say, a trope of Black and Asian conflict. Now, in their report, they say because some of the videos say perpetrators appear to have been Black, and we talked about this, how they're always wearing some sort of hoodie, red, pink. You keep noticing the red and pinks. They're doing it in front of 4K cameras. What Black criminal is going to run to where the block is hot? We both know from our neighborhoods, if the block is hot, you're not going to go over there. You're going to go away from that so that can die down. So we know good and well this is more sinister. We know that we're noticing that more people that's participating in this is popping up in photos. Like the last guy that with the fedora hat, he was in a picture with Andrew Yang, and then all of a sudden now he attacking Asians. Then Sister Demetria recently done a video about how one black person was accused of attacking an Asian person, but they didn't show the part where he was actually called a racial slur. So different things are happening just with individual people. There's no conspiracy of anything. They're lying. And we'll get to even with these two Asian, women are saying about this sort of thing. So they continue to talk about how, so this ain't the first time they say that trope. It had been weaponized, say black and Asian conflict or black and Korean conflicts in particular, what became more popular during the LA riots in 1992. Now, around that time period, you know about Latasha Harlins and what happened in that store. That lady got off. She didn't go to jail at all. Now, that definitely sparked a lot of problems because you're not going to just be, the way Latasha Harlins died was just unforgivable. It really is. So it said that that particular trope failed to capture the reality of black and Korean relations 3 decades, ago. It was talking about how that it fails to capture also the reality of anti-Asian bias today. So they said that a study recently found that Christian nationalism, which is white supremacy's religion base, is the strongest predictor of xenophobic views of COVID-19. Basically what they're saying is the white supremacists is the main ones that are doing the attacking. And it's saying the effect of Christian nationalism is greater among white respondents compared to black respondents. So we don't have no Christian nationalism in the black community. The Ku Klux Klan say they're Christians too. You know what I'm saying? They said that black Americans have experienced also high levels of the racial discrimination since the pandemic began. They said that not only does the frame of two, they said, minority groups in conflict ignore the role of white national populism, but it also absolves the history and systems of inequality that position them there. So basically what they're saying is that black folks and Asian people have suffered in this pandemic by losing jobs, losing business, etc. But this country is built off of division. That's what it's built off of too, divide and conquer. They've been doing this forever. So they're also saying that the pitfalls also frame the need to address everything that happened in the 92 riots between the African American and Korean community. They talked about how they got with local churches and community organizations and they shared their respective histories and about colonialism and oppression and discrimination and resistance. And, so it was mostly like an education thing. But today, it won't go down like that. To be honest, the church house is not the leader anymore in the black community. I'm going to repeat that. Going to black churches is a waste of your time. If you were smart, you'll come to the black media members and have conversations and try to see what you can do to work things out that way. The black church is a relic now in the black community. And that's just really all over the world. The black church is just not what it was. And we don't, because we see what it is. You understand what I'm saying? That's why we don't really fool with it. But the thing I want to point out here is a few things. They were talking about, discrimination against black people. They said, please tell how much discrimination is according to Asians, right? And in their report, they talk about the majority of different groups from Korean to Indians, Japanese, Filipinos, etc. The majority agree that black folks deal with discrimination. They said supportive of civil rights. They said that the government should do more to give black people equal rights. And according to their data here, the majority, whether they agree strongly or agree somewhat, they're still in agreement some way, form, or fashion. The majority feel that black people should be given equal rights with white people. We just going off of what data says. And now, of course, they talking about they want to reallocate, funds from local governments, shifting from law enforcement programs. The majority also feel that as well. So I always tell people this, okay? I will partner or ally with those who partner and ally with me on an individual basis. I won't do it by group until that group show me they are true partners or allies. But an individual, or maybe it could be a group of individuals, I'm willing to do that. But let's blow up the spot real quick of the white supremacist propaganda, where they're saying that basically it's all these hate crimes that's going on. Like, what they mean by hate crimes, we're talking about physical attacks against Asian people. Now, if we put this up on the screen here, this is the Stop AAPI Hate National Report. This comes from, the Asian American and Pacific Islander community. And this was done from 3/19/20 to 2/28/21, as you can see. So let's look at the types of discrimination they're talking about that's going on. Now, they say verbal harassment is 68.1%, which is the majority. And it says shunning is 20.5%. Now, they say deliberate avoidance of Asian Americans. Now, we know as black folks, shunning, that's our daily life. You understand what I'm saying? But they're saying that that's the majority of the discrimination they're dealing with, which goes to what? Definitely over around 88.6%. It's the majority of what they say they're dealing with in America, right? They admitted in their study that it comes from white supremacists practicing their Christian nationalism. They admit that as well, okay? They didn't say it's overwhelmingly black people doing all of this. They also admitted during the pandemic, black people have dealt with a lot of racial discrimination and loss of business, etc. as well, okay? Black Americans didn't get to participate in all these loan programs that white folks was scurrying to get to save their businesses, do everything else. And before I get to this next step here, let me say something. I don't want black people ever again to tell me, or any black people, you shouldn't be asking the government for anything. You should just do it. Listen, these folks, during that pandemic, they demanded the government give them something. You know what I'm saying? They demanded handouts that they didn't work for. But when you ask for something, stop asking for handouts. Get a job. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps. Let me tell black folks something. You get every government program that you can legally get. Get them all. You pay taxes. Get it. Don't let these folks tell you, listen, you need some food stamps today because you're struggling. Get your food stamps. Get your welfare. Get whatever. Because these folks are more on those programs than you'll ever be, because more of them. Now, continuing. They say physical assault is 11.1% and compromises the third largest category of total incidents. Now, if you pay attention to the white supremacist media, you would think that the physical assault is 68.1%. Or let's put the shunning together. Basically, somebody, I don't want to fool with them. I don't like them kind of people. The shunning like that, which happens to us daily. Okay. The way the media, white media is promoting this is that the physical assault is 80%. Now, of course, we don't want nobody physically harmed. We don't want nobody hurt. We don't want nobody shunned. We don't want nobody, I said nobody, harassed by anybody. People should be adults and should act as such, right? Now, they say civil rights violations, they say workplace discrimination, refusal of service, being barred from transportation account for 8.5% of total incidents. Online harassment makes up 6.8% of the total incidents, okay? Then they say, look at the trend. Say women report hate incidents 2.3 times more than women. They say youth 0 to 17 report 12.6% of the incidents, and seniors 60 and older report 6.2% of the incidents. Like I said, Chinese are the largest ethnic group, 42.2% that experience hate. Well, it makes sense. Donald Trump said China virus and all that. So, of course, that makes sense. Say followed by Koreans at 14.8%, Vietnamese 8.5%, Filipinos 7.9%. And said they talking about it was from all 50 states and the District of Columbia. They said businesses are the primary site of discrimination, 35.4%, followed by just being in the street, 25.3%, public parks 9.8%, and online incidents account for 10.8% of total incidents. So this comes directly from the Asian community, what I'm reading here, okay? So do you further understand why we continue to say this is a propaganda that's being ran by the white supremacists? When we use the term propaganda, the data doesn't match up with the propaganda. Propaganda is lies, ladies and gentlemen. As even the two Asian women said in their reports, that black folks have suffered in this pandemic just as much as Asians have, okay? They have been targeted, and black folks have lost our businesses just as much as Asians have. They say that we don't even have a beef like that, which we have completely said that. But I'd rather you report it coming from them to say that this is why they're calling it a trope in their reports. This is why we have said this is a propaganda. This is why we've said this. Okay. Now, your mainstream, because it's pushing a propaganda, is not going to sit up here and tell you what I'm telling you or report to what I'm reporting, because they have to go along trying to get this next crime bill. You understand? Joe Biden is sitting up here talking about we need to do this COVID-19 Hate Crimes Act. That's all he knows, a crime bill to lock black folks up, because they trying to frame that as black folks. They're taking homeless black people, mentally ill black people. All of a sudden, all of them wearing these red hoodies and pink hoodies, and it's amazing how all of them are wearing the same things in New York in particular. I'm noticing it more in New York. And then you're seeing these random acts going on in the San Francisco area, these two areas right here, not all over the country. I mean, just the majority in these two areas who are controlled by the Democrat Party. I'm just saying, and no, I'm not a Republican. I'm not a Democrat. If I say anything, I'm a black independent. I'm independent, completely independent, because I don't have no bearing on no political parties. I do what's best for me and my community. But as we can see, it is nothing but lies. There's no beefs with Asians, because once again, I'm going to say this again. Asians right now are in the black neighborhoods as we speak at the making of this video. No one is burning down their businesses. Nobody's running them out of town. Nobody's protesting in front of their businesses unless they do something they got no business and saying, you ain't coming in here today. Nope, you ain't coming in here. You done. Out. They haven't done that. Okay? So we in the black media have to stand against the lies and propaganda upon our community. And if we have a beef with somebody, it's our legitimate beef, whatever the reason may be. It's not going to be manufactured based off of them. You understand? Yes, there have been incidents that's definitely happened that Asian business owners have been a part of. And we definitely got to address that. And we are addressing that right now as we speak. We're addressing that right now. And the simple way we're going to address a lot of that is this. We said that we don't want to be accused, because some of them in that community is going along with the white supremacists. And to protect ourselves and not to have another Latasha Harlins incident, we want to just make sure to stay out of their businesses and support people within our own community, because at least in the community, we won't have those issues and problems. As I stated before, the majority of their money comes from our sisters in the community. So that responsibility is more so bearing on the sisters than anybody else. And as brothers, we could tell you all day, but at the end of the day, it's your choice. And I know they're going to have some that don't care about the community. They just care about themselves. They don't care about, they don't respect themselves. I get that, ladies and gentlemen, but it's on them, because brothers don't really patronize their businesses like that unless it's a restaurant, something like that. Yeah, we'll go to different restaurants, but if they're putting out this information that we're putting out here, because obviously they're hearing what we're saying. Oh yeah, they're hearing what we're saying. Trust me, they hear everything that we're saying. And, you want to come to the table, have conversations. I'm willing to have conversations with anybody. But at the end of the day, especially with the Korean community, if you want to have a conversation with me, especially some of you running these beauty supply, then if you want to make good on what you're saying, then you need to open up that supply chain to black beauty shop owners completely. Then we would know that you're being serious. All this cutthroat and all that, to me, that's hatred as well. And that's trying to hurt black businesses serving black people when you're not even the main source. You should be happy that you can at least be a part of something of somebody else. You know what I'm saying? But we have to address all those issues, because behind the scenes, ladies and gentlemen, I'm letting you know, there's a lot of people in different Asian communities that have been reaching out to me behind the scenes. I've been having people who are Chinese have reached out to me behind the scenes saying, what could they do? I've been having people that's Korean reach out, and my message is always the same. It doesn't change. I say, if you want to make good on what you're saying, then in the black neighborhoods, at least have 50% of your employees be black in a black neighborhood, open up those supply chains with the black beauty, supply industry. Make sure they getting their products and what they need, and not having to have a plug. Basically, they can just set up an account and do it on their own, and not all this cutthroat trying to hurt black businesses. Okay, that's another thing that you can do. Also join with other black businesses for different supply chains out of China, because that's where all the manufacturing is at, and not have to go through them folks and all this. It's so many different things. Of course, the obvious, take a stand against anti-black racism within your own community, and also call out white supremacy. I mean, because for me, you're not serious unless you're putting money down. And I mean, what I mean by money is you're bringing jobs to the community. You're also helping the businesses thrive. And then, hey, open up businesses, in your community as well. And you support it. You know what I'm saying? So if a black person open up a particular business in your area, support it. Don't be like, I'm not going to a black person business, but we go to yours. I mean, if you talk to me, we're going to talk how is this going to be a beneficial relationship. It's not going to be on one side. You understand what I'm saying? Sure, you may not understand our culture, and we don't understand yours. But at the end of the day, you don't have to understand everything. You can just have definitely a working relationship, etc. Because it really, at the end of the day, it doesn't make sense. I mean, I'm just being honest with you. It doesn't make sense for anyone non-Mzungu to be really against each other. It doesn't make sense. The only time you can be against each other is when you're trying to get in proximity to white supremacy. Then that's when it becomes something. But it doesn't make sense. It doesn't really benefit everybody to fight against each other like that. The more you fight against each other, the more they stay in power and the more they can extend their rule. And that's what they want. Because they know they're becoming in the minority. They know this. Even Joe Biden said by 2040, we're going to be in trouble. He said those exact words because he knows what's coming down the pipe. So for people that message me behind the scenes and all of that, that's fine. Like I said, I'll have conversations, or you want to talk, it depends on who you are and what you got going on. We can talk here. We can talk on our website. This depends on certain things, because I was told, also that some people that talk, they get a backlash as well from their own community. Those people usually want to be in proximity to white supremacy as well. That's why. I've definitely been paying a lot of attention. They talk about the colorism deal within their community. That they deal with colorism, like your Filipinos and your Cambodians. A lot of times your darker, Asian people are heavily discriminated against, in the Asian world. So they literally have colorism within their group, no different than like in Latin America. They the same. Like white supremacy have his evil tentacles in the minds of a whole lot of people. And that's what needs to be focused on, if anything else, instead of fighting with people. It doesn't even make sense. But leave me a comment. Let me know what you think about, this particular story that, basically even in the Asian community and even through their own data collection, that they're proving that this is nothing but a propaganda. It's not a reality. It's just a white supremacist that's trying to stir up this mess to keep you off of white supremacy and not put your mind back on the January the Sixers, okay? Because that's what I call them, January the Sixers. All the ones that stormed the Capitol, that's their name, January the Sixers. And you anybody else say that, say, hey, I remember Brother Phil said that for these folks. You know how these folks be paying attention to what I'm saying, all of a sudden they'll start saying it on TV. You say, what, January the Sixers? Hold on, I know you got that from somewhere. You understand what I'm saying? Because a lot of people be ghost watching over here, ladies and gentlemen. I'm talking about these major corporate platforms. Oh, they be ghost watching for real. I know who you are. I see you. Oh, I know who you are. But we just can't allow, as black media members, we can't allow people to lie on us like that, because lying on us and creating propaganda can cause us to lose our lives, our freedom, and we just can't silently go by and let that happen again.